Kia ora everyone, and welcome to this explainer. Listen, I am absolutely buzzing today because we're looking at something genuinely monumental in the rugby world right now. We're breaking down exactly how Dave Rennie's men have essentially rebuilt the All Blacks identity from the ground up, right ahead of this massive greatest rivalry tour against South Africa. You know, this isn't just about throwing some new players into the mix, we're talking about a fundamental strategic rebirth, and specifically, and we'll get deep into this, a totally dominant scrum evolution that has turned them into a deeply terrifying, highly organized machine.
There are no solutions, only trade-offs. The great Thomas Sowell said that, and honestly, it perfectly hits the nail on the head for our overarching theme today. Because rugby, especially at the absolute highest level, is literally a giant game of tactical trade-offs. You gain a massive advantage with one strategy, but you inevitably leave yourself exposed somewhere else. And as you'll see, these two absolute heavyweight teams, New Zealand and South Africa, well, they've chosen entirely contrasting paths to try and dominate the world. Okay, so here's exactly what we're covering today. 1. The greatest rugby rivalry. 2. A dominant scrum evolution. 3. Distributing the workload. 4. Rugby IQ and kicking. 5. The South African benchmark. And finally, 6. The breakdown sheet code. We're going to dive right in and explore exactly how New Zealand plans to challenge the reigning standard bearers of world rugby.
Section 1, the greatest rugby rivalry. Just to briefly set the stakes here, both of these teams are coming in completely unbeaten in the Nations Championship. They are on a total collision course. I mean, this is a true clash of titans, right? It's the thriller in Manila of modern rugby. They've played over 100 test matches against each other since 1921. And yet somehow, this upcoming series feels like the most vital chapter we've seen yet.
Now, what makes this so fascinating is that these two sides present just an incredible stylistic matchup. On one hand, you have New Zealand totally embracing this high-tempo, incredibly phase-heavy style of play. And then on the flip side, you have South Africa. Their entire identity, both defensive and offensive, is just geared toward outright, brutal physical collision and total gainline dominance.
Section 2, a dominant scrum evolution.
Okay, so this is absolutely crucial, and I really want to focus on this. There is a foundational shift happening right at the heart of the All Blacks pack. This is not the same New Zealand tight five we've watched over the past few years. Under forwards coach Jason Ryan, we are witnessing a completely dominant scrum evolution, and it's completely redefining how they dictate the pace of the game.
Actually, scratch the old narrative entirely. The days of the All Blacks simply trying to survive the set piece against heavier, more bruising packs, yeah, those are over. They are actively shifting from just surviving to outright weaponizing the scrum. By fully embracing the absolute brutality of the forward exchange, guys like Luke Jacobson are bringing this gnarly, intensely confrontational edge. It ensures that New Zealand can establish sheer, undeniable physical dominance right up front. So you kind of have to wonder, are the All Blacks actually looking to completely dominate the Springboks at the set piece? Well, all the evidence suggests they are absolutely hunting for parity, if not outright dominance. It's brilliant, really. We're seeing New Zealand use their scrum as a sort of double bluff platform. Instead of always just taking the easy penalty points when they get an edge, they're opting to pack down again. They're launching lightning-fast Channel 1 ball to exploit retreating defenses and initiating these tight, highly confrontational pick-and-go attacks that literally fold the opposition backward. It is a stunning powerhouse evolution.
All right, Section 3, distributing the workload. Because, look, brute strength at the scrum is amazing, but it isn't enough on its own. Let's look at the actual data to see exactly how this physical intensity is sustained across a full 80-minute test match.
The tactical divergence we're seeing here is just wild. Notice the ruck numbers. South Africa averages around 80 rucks per game. They focus purely on efficiency. New Zealand, however, they are generating a staggering 120 to over 140 rucks per game. I mean, in the Nations Championship, New Zealand has held up to 26 minutes of pure possession. They are creating this massive, relentless volume of clean rucks. And you have to think about the immense physiological tax that places on the opposition's defense. It's exhausting just thinking about it. So what does this number 10 mean? Well, against Ireland, a whopping 10 starting All Blacks finished the game with double-digit carries. 10. To put that into perspective, if you look at other top international teams, you usually only see maybe 2 or 3 players hitting that mark in a single match. The philosophy here is incredibly simple. There is nobody that is the guy. Dave Rennie has effectively built a hive mind system. The CPR stats, that's carry, pass, ruck, are spread flawlessly across the entire squad.
The labor is highly distributed, meaning no single player is burning out, and that is exactly what allows them to maintain that crazy high phase volume deep into the final quarter of the game when legs are getting heavy.
Section 4, Rugby IQ, M kicking. Let's move out to the back line and see how all this forward dominance builds into an incredibly intelligent, situational attack led by a shifting, playmaking access. Because, let's be real, all those 140 rucks don't mean a thing without smart direction. The Allblacks have subtly shifted their playmaking duties, and it's fascinating. Instead of relying solely on the number 10 to run the show, they're adopting what really looks like a French-style model. Cam Roygaard at halfback is taking on massive influence, acting almost like a petit general. He's making more runs, he's taking on way more decision-making, and he's utilizing the boot to distribute pressure effectively across the park.
And that perfectly brings us to situational kicking. We aren't seeing those robotic, heavily pre-planned box kicks just for the sake of escaping pressure anymore. High rugby IQ players in that axis, guys like Ruben Love, Jordy Barrett, and Damian McKenzie, they're playing the picture directly in front of them. If the backfield is deep, they run. If the defense rushes up hard, they use these beautifully weighted attacking grubbers and 50-22s to brilliantly exploit the defensive spacing.
Section 5, the South African benchmark. Okay, so it's an incredible tactical setup by the All Blacks, but to understand if this evolution is truly enough to win the greatest rivalry, we have to look at the incredibly lethal benchmark currently set by the reigning world champions. When you measure red zone efficiency, which is how many points a team walks away with every time they enter their opponent's 22, it reveals a very clear story. New Zealand's efficiency is climbing rapidly under Rennie, for sure. They were at 2.8 against France, up to 3.1 against Italy, and hitting 3.3 against Ireland. But compare that to South Africa, who are sitting at a staggering 4.1 points per entry. The All Blacks are definitely improving, but they are still chasing the Springboks' totally ruthless execution. You see, South Africa's magic formula is just different. They don't need 140 rucks to score. They rely on raw power, dominant set pieces, and winning the gain line outright. When a massive player like Jasper Weiss or Pieter Versteef du Toit cracks a defense open, they don't reset for 10 more phases. They finish the job immediately. Section 6, the breakdown cheat code. So how do these two completely different titans actually clash on the field? Let's break down the exact tactical puzzle South Africa will try to use to derail this All Blacks renaissance. The Springboks know exactly what the danger zone is. It's New Zealand's sub-3-second rook ball. When the All Blacks generate that lightning fast ball, their elite footwork, handling before contact, and the offloading game with players like Will Jordan become practically undefendable. I mean, even the mighty Springboks will struggle heavily if New Zealand is allowed to play at that blistering speed. So, here is the literal cheat code for South Africa. Step 1. They absolutely must use their massive bodies to slow that breakdown ball. Step 2, crucially, they cannot empty their defensive line into the ruck to do it. Step 3, they must keep 13 defenders on their feet. If South Africa commits too many cleaners, New Zealand will instantly exploit the space. The Boks have to disrupt the ruck with just 1 or 2 massive athletes, think Malcolm Marx or Pieter Versteef du Toit, while keeping a solid green wall standing right across the field. Ultimately, if the Springboks can successfully dominate territory and slow that breakdown, they force the All Blacks into rushed exits, broken play, and messy possession. And that is exactly how you stop the hive mind. You drag New Zealand into an unstructured fight where South Africa's sheer physical power just takes over. Which leaves us with the ultimate question, doesn't it? Will New Zealand's relentless phase volume and this incredible, highly physical scrum evolution be enough to overcome South Africa's brutal gain line efficiency? It's quite literally the irresistible force meeting the immovable object. And the tactical trade-offs we've explored today will absolutely decide the series. Man, I cannot wait for this clash. So, what do you guys think? Check the link in my bio to watch my videos, and I'll see you on the next explainer.